Hello there. Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time, we surgically enhanced our steel factory to double production using the advanced smelting technology that we recently unlocked using our newly upgraded research labs. We also increased our power production over here so that we could afford the electricity required to run this monstrosity. This expanded steel production is going to allow us to more continuously produce research, right? Because steel is an input here to lab equipment 2 eventually. It's also going to allow us to speed up our truck upgrades as well as train production, because steel is an input over here for vehicle parts 2 and rail parts. And it's going to help us expand faster in general because steel is an input to construction parts. These are all things we were struggling on pretty hard until we got our steel setup sorted. But it is sorted now, and that means we have a great deal of freedom in deciding what we want our next development focus to be. And I'm choosing to focus on something today that we've neglected since the very start of the game: our citizens' health. Since day one, we have been throwing trash on the ground and in the ocean. We've been dumping wastewater and other waste products into that ocean as well. And as beautiful as it is to see our steel factory working at top speed, this smokestack and every other smokestack that we've built is billowing out air pollution. As are the 170-ish vehicles, trucks, excavators, etc., that we've built so far, along with the 2 large boats that we also employ. As a result of all of this, and the drag that vehicles, ships, air pollution, landfill pollution, water pollution are all adding up to, our health rating is basically netting out to 0. Plus 28 we get, 10 for base, 8 for the food that we're producing for everyone, and 10 for the clean water. It's basically entirely offset, minus 27, by all of this pollution, right? This impacts our ability to maintain a workforce, because health directly increases or decreases population growth. And when we end up with a flu, this is our best case scenario right now, we don't have a flu, but when we have a flu, our growth rate turns negative. We lose population. This is doubly a problem considering how many jobs we added last time. The last 2 times, frankly. As you can see, we're low on workers. We don't have enough to keep all of our machines running right now. And I already did my favorite little trick of unloading the crew off the boat. We are really at a worker deficit right now. Now, not only does this impact our population levels, it also undermines our unity generation. This number could be better if we had higher health. But besides, going green can also be profitable. Let me show you how. So I'm going to queue up almost a dozen different technologies here. Wastewater treatment and its precursors, the incineration plant and its, well, those same shared precursors. We're going to knife through here to exhaust filtration, which will require us to stop at pipes 3 along the way. We'll grab settlement recycling and its precursors, and then we'll get up here all the way through to reforming and cracking. I think that's like 11, so not quite a dozen, but pretty close. We'll talk about each of those as we implement them, but don't worry, there's a coherent strategy to the order and interaction of each of those techs. So while that's going on, let's take care of a couple odds and ends and implement some of the green techs that we have already unlocked. As a reminder, before we unpause, just taking stock so we can see how it looks at the end of the episode. 1 health, minus 27 on pollution. Let's keep track of that and see how much we can improve in the course of one whirlwind session here. So, I'll unpause. All right. First thing we need to do, all right, good. Our beacon is going again. Costs us some unity, but we have to have pop. We genuinely can't even run our last lab right yet. So we're gonna have to do something about that. And that something is actually going to be a little bit risky. Looking at our top consumers of workers, again, weird way to frame it, but that's not wrong. It's mostly these assemblies, right? Makes sense, and you need 1 driver for every pickup, and we have quite a few. But this single oil rig that we have out on the world map takes 72, which is, by the way, the same amount as the 4 blast furnace 2s that we built last time. This is where a big chunk, along with the research labs from the last 2 episodes, where that big chunk of our population came from. Back down to 0. Actually, negative 28. Wonderful. What we're going to do, and this is risky, but we are going to claw back temporarily some of the workers on our oil rig. This is going to save us on unity. It's going to save us on pops. It's going to cost us on oil. But here's the thing. There's 3K oil there already stored. We're not going to 0. We're still making 30. We've still got a bit on the boat, in the fluid modules, and in our storage on the shore. And we have a decent amount of diesel already here and in every other place around the base. We're going to take that back up as soon as we can get that pop back, but we need everything else working in the meanwhile. So, the next thing we'll do, we need to repair this boat. I'm going to make a quick trade now that we have steel, right? See if we can't repair the boat, because it'd be nice to get it back out there as well. We have already brought this back down about as low as we can, but we're going to keep pulling refugees and adoptees as quickly as we can here. And then, because we're already 1 beacon round in, we're going to be pretty low here, and we're going to be doing this aggressively, I'm just going to go ahead and say, during this episode, we're going to upgrade both of those. So, last things, just a final follow-up from the last episode. We were able to boost, right, 2x our entire steel factory. We won't be able to maintain this in the longer run. But the biggest problem we had was this belt throughput is our bottleneck, right? We fixed that on the output side here. We can boost this up over 200 by connecting it directly to this storage and then giving that storage to 200 belts out. But this only had the 1 input, and so we were allowing trucks to deliver. I think I have a workaround, because you know what else actually has technically, maybe not infinite throughput, but higher throughput is a U-shaped connector. Let's give that a shot. We aren't going to know if it really works for quite some time, because we just can't afford to boost all of this. But we are going to boost this for a little while, and we'll say you can't deliver directly anymore. And we'll see if that helps fill this back up. And we're doing okay now on steel anyway, right? We actually have some, so we should be okay. All right, that was the last of sort of the follow-ups that I wanted to square up before we moved on. I said we had some green tech already unlocked. Eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed I blueprinted this biomass collection building down here a little while ago. I wanted to get it built earlier than we've had the chance to, but it's relatively expensive, and we were really pushing on our construction parts 3 consumption to get everything else up and running. Now, we have enough steel that we're filling up pretty quickly. So what does biomass do? What does the biomass collector do? Biomass is the fraction of trash that would otherwise end up in this waste collector that we can, I guess, compost, right? This is your banana peel going into the pile in your backyard instead of the municipal waste trash. And so this gives us something that we are able to work with, and it reduces the amount of waste that we're throwing into the ocean. What do we do with it? Well, you can burn it, but like that kind of undermines the entire point. The reason I had it built over here by the refinery is that you can also use it to turn into compost, which you can use to make organic fertilizer. We've talked about a few times, we still actually have over here, if you can see it, that component of our fertilizer setup blueprinted. But we're keeping our fertilizer good enough over here on our farm situation. And in fact, right, we have so much of these crops that we're throwing it out. So I don't think we need to prioritize that. What else can you do with it? Well, the last thing is you can burn it instead of coal. And so what we're going to do is prioritize it over coal out at our power plant. Refugees. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to build this. And then we'll need to build the corresponding infrastructure over here to drop it off and, importantly, to prioritize it. It's really as simple as we need another drop-off input. This could be tidier, but I really think that the simplest thing to do here is to bring over biomass like this. Say, well, we'll need a prioritizer, but if we put a U-shaped balancer, say here, ish, probably like there, then these will prioritize bringing in biomass instead of coal. Now this probably also requires a bit of a surgical strike here because we are looking to pause our pretty continuous coal consumption for power. So let's start by leaving this and maybe even all the way out to here, just to be safe. It doesn't need to clear out that pillar, but we'll see how it treats that. We'll have to quick remove the contents as well here. All right, now for the balancer. What do we think? Oh, I already had it up a level. Would this work? I mean, the question is just, are we able to connect it properly? So that certainly works. Maybe what we will do, yeah, because unfortunately it's a bit tight quarters here. You can't actually directly connect, right, a balancer to anything. It requires belt on all sides, but we could do something like, I guess we could move over another one. So maybe we delete this real quick. Will this work? Or have we run into the boiler? Nope, this works. So that'll be coal. I don't need that to be a Mark II. I don't think. No, even boosted, we're okay. Good. So, we quickly build that. Now, we still need to connect up here. This actually probably does need to be a 2 because when we set this recipe and prioritize it, it takes more, right? As you can see, it takes 72 biomass instead of 30 coal. That's the trade-off. It's a little bit less energy dense because it's just, you know, compost basically, but it puts off less exhaust. Now, because we have this boosted as a backup, we still prioritize the oil byproducts, but boosted as a backup, we need this to be able to run, if we're able to supply it, 144 per minute. So that definitely means we need to be a Mark II belt, not just here, but in fact also here, of course. But that should do it. Hopefully we don't end up with any weird little bursts of interruption to our power, but this should already be collecting over here. Good. So again, the point of that is twofold. One, waste avoidance. Waste we're simply dumping into the ocean right now, and that's causing pollution. Waste generation avoidance. And two, we're burning something that is less pollution than coal. Okay, so that's good. Now, what else do we have going on here? We're all ready to thermal desalination. Maybe what I'll do, because all three of these really actually go together, is talk about the wastewater treatment plant itself. The wastewater treatment plant takes this wastewater that we are currently throwing into the ocean, and it's creating 1 unit of pollution for every unit of wastewater. And instead, if we run it through this building, we add a little bit of sand, or preferably this thing called filter media, we'll come back to in a moment, along with chlorine, which is a new resource for us, we get back, oh my gosh, a lot of water. Somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4 of wastewater by volume. That's pretty great. We also generate sludge. What the heck is sludge? Sludge is, I don't know, the wastewater minus the water, right? It's the waste. This, again, you could just burn if you were so inclined, but the whole point here is to reduce pollution. So you could put this in this anaerobic digester building. That creates fuel gas and compost. Compost, you can just dump like slag or rock or dirt, or you can use it as an input into that organic fertilizer. It'll probably be fine to dump in the meanwhile, but we will definitely use it for organic fertilizer eventually, because, as you might recall, that's originally what I thought we were going to be doing with the biomass. Okay, easy enough. What's fuel gas? Fuel gas is one of the downstream refinery byproducts that we have not yet had a chance to talk about because we have not yet run into it. But it's one of the things that can come out of the oil process. It can also come out of this anaerobic digester for a bunch of organic materials. Basically excess crops, right? We could have been making this already from all the extra potatoes we have lying around, or all the extra vegetables we have lying around. We haven't really had a need to do that yet, so we haven't, but we could. Fuel gas can be used, well, again, it can be burnt off, it can be flared off like anything else, or it can be used, it can be mixed with oxygen to create diesel and water, two things we like a lot, right? It can also be burned in a gas boiler to create steam, and it puts out carbon dioxide instead of exhaust. Carbon dioxide, in fact, let's just go here. Carbon dioxide being emitted does still air pollute. But this is a 4-to-1 ratio instead of a 2-to-1 ratio over exhaust. So where possible, volumes equal, we'd rather be venting off CO2 than exhaust. Keep that in mind for later. Okay. You'll see, though, I have a better use for that fuel gas in a moment. But that's what we're going to be doing with our wastewater treatment. The last thing we didn't talk about is this filter media. Easy stuff. Throw a mixer with some gravel, some sand, and some coal together, and you get plenty of this. You only need 8 per 160 of wastewater, and just to level set, right? We're only generating just under 50 wastewater right now. So when we build this wastewater treatment plant, it'll be running at 1/3 capacity, meaning that we need something like, what, 2 or 3 filter media? So we'll be okay. We're at vehicle cap here, so I think what we're gonna do is go to the upgrader and say, keep working through our pickups. No reason not to. There we go, more refugees coming in. I think it's probably time to start sweating about our oil rig. Maybe we can at least turn it back up. You know what? Let's get it most of the way back up. And good, the rest of this we all feel fine about. I really don't need this alert, actually, so let's clean up the deck there. All right, so the other thing that we didn't yet touch on for wastewater treatment is chlorine. Chlorine, just zap with an electrolyzer, some brine, which again, this is just super salty water. This is how we make salt as well. It's the part that comes out of a desalinator that isn't fresh water. And we make chlorine. And again, we don't need a ton of this by volume. We'll probably be running about 5 a minute based on our current wastewater generation. So this itself will be running at half capacity. But we'll put one of these into this complex as well. And lastly, along the way, we unlocked better desalination technology. Remember, we make fresh water here, and by the way, maybe not quite enough of it, so this is good timing. In this very basic distiller building, this is the thing that allowed us to make our very first oil into diesel. This building is wildly outdated. It would be much better if we could do a thermal desalinator instead. So, what does that look like? Well, come along now, where is it? Here we are. This building here takes as input the same seawater, but instead of coal, it takes steam. Don't worry, we've got a boiler right here. And it puts out the same 2 water and brine, but it does much more by volume, and there's no exhaust. So this seems like a good moment to upgrade this facility as well, right? So we're gonna do that. We'll take this brine. We'll make sure that we're still running some of it over here through our evaporation pond. We're pretty full on salt. Remember, all we do with this so far is bring it over here to make glass. But we'll do that, and we'll make sure to have as well our electrolyzer connected to some of the output, making our chlorine. We also just unlocked the wastewater treatment plant. Big building, by the way. Big building. But it has enough capacity for quite some time. Again, we'll be running at less than 1/3 capacity right now. So imagine triple this population, right? We'll be okay. But that means we'll be getting just under 40 water back, basically for free, that we are currently using, just throwing it into the water, into the ocean, which is going to help out over here as well, in addition to our enhanced desalination technology. So you can see how these three all play together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sketch it out in a time lapse. I will come back out of the time lapse. I will explain to you the flow and the logic and the orientation, all of that. And then I will connect everything up, probably get in a time lapse, and then we'll see how it looks on the other side. So enjoy the music, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I did skip the middle step, and I ended up just kind of connecting everything as I went along after all, but I'll walk you through it. So, first inputs. Desalinator receives seawater, 108, 108, that's 1:1, so we don't need a storage buffer like we had over here because the ratios on the basic distiller are strange compared to the seawater pumps. So 1:1 is fine there. It also receives steam out here. Now I put a priority balancer here because I could see it going either way. Whether we want to prioritize the refinery. Now again, coal's just serving as a backup here, but I could see that being whirled. The other thing is, well, this is water supply to the settlement, so I could see us wanting to prioritize that as well. So that's there, along with another reason that we'll talk about in a couple technologies. But there's a way we can utilize another source of steam to run our desalinators. Keep an eye on that. Our desalinators spit out water and brine. Water comes along this set of pipes, goes to the exact same fluid storage that we have here. This fluid storage feeds back to the boiler, and then also comes up here, supplies the settlement and the refinery. Okay. That is basically the desalination situation. I guess we should do one last thing here, which is to link up our two brine outputs. So over here, right, we have priority out here to our evaporation pond so we can make salt, but worst case scenario, we dump it. There's no pollution for returning brine to the sea from whence it came. Over here, I think we'd rather prioritize, and that means we can remove this instead. I think we would rather prioritize, right, our electrolyzer, but then worst case scenario, it comes back over. I think actually this should be a Mark II, but yeah, it should. Shoot. Man, I wish you could, there really needs to be an upgrade button here, right? Upgrade my blueprint. I can do the exact same thing once I've built it, but I actually have to stop and redraw this entire thing when I realize, oh, actually that should be a 2. Small quality of life thing, but it's something I run into pretty much every episode. All right, but this way, we had it, the way I drew it first was that each of these had its own side and its own salt dump. But I think, connecting the two makes more sense because once this is up and running, our water supply is just too precarious right now. I'm not going to do it all at once, but once this is up and running, I'm going to delete the basic distillers over here and replace them with another copy of this thermal desalination setup. That'll require a little bit of rewiring over here, right? Because this setup is wider than this setup, but we'll deal with it in a moment. It's not incredibly high priority. Okay. Brine, is prioritized out here to our electrolyzer to make chlorine. I've actually created a chlorine storage as well, lower priority, but we'll use chlorine for other stuff in the future. You can see. So I figured why not build up a store and set this up so that it's extensible in the future. If we want, we just keep building these down this direction. You can also upgrade in place to an electrolyzer too. So this should supply our chlorine, not just here, but to the rest of the base once the rest of the base needs it. Priority though goes out here to the wastewater treatment plant, which also receives wastewater here. As soon as this is all built, I'll delete this and this. The wastewater treatment plant also receives filter media, which we make over here. Coal, sand, gravel. Remember, we make gravel over here as like a casual byproduct output from our cement that we were using along with rail parts to make the actual tracks. So we already have that, and we can just bring it over. This is all going to be in such small quantity, right? Again, look how little we need to make 36 of this. This consumes 8, and we're going to be running at 1/3 capacity. So small storages are going to be fine. We don't really need filter media anywhere else in the base, really. And even if we did, the sum of these parts is larger than 36. So, but like not by much, right? I'd rather just sort of make this in place in the few places we need it. Again, that is exactly one place right now. So that should be enough. The last thing, oh, and I didn't actually connect it, but the last thing we need to do is make sure that our sludge is taken care of here. We're only going to need one of these digesters right now because we won't be running at full speed, but the ratio at full speed is 36. 18 and 18 makes 36. The water comes back out here, joins back up, and feeds directly into the settlement water supply with priority, right? Versus the water we're pulling in from here. This should never back up, right? Because by definition, we're getting back less water than we're putting in wastewater. Not by much, which is great, but definitely less. And because we require more water than we put out wastewater, the number we're spitting out here is always going to be smaller than this number. So what we're doing is just offsetting the amount that we'll need to bring over from the desalination setup, but that number will always be greater than 0. So we never need to worry about this backing up. We're never going to make more here than we can consume here. Okay. So that's all that. And I think we will let everything build. This all seems about right. We don't need this yet, if ever. This can all go. We don't need this extra digester, but I will build everything else in this area. Oh yeah, the outputs from these digesters, right? Fuel gas available to the rest of the base. And I'll show you where I think we're going to consume most of that shortly. Same thing with compost. We should probably allow compost to generally be dumped. This now means it can go anywhere, unless there's a mine control tower operating in that area and it overrides. So I suppose we'll add that there as well, because that's where we're mainly dumping right now. Okay. Surely this won't all work on the first go, but let's find out what we missed and let it run. Again, in the meanwhile, our old system of just throwing it in the ocean, still functional. So it should be okay just to let it go. We didn't delete anything too painful. So we'll let that go and we'll keep researching. And we can switch gears and talk about the incineration plant. This is going to be our solve for our waste problem. It's also going to be where we're going to burn that fuel gas. So we will produce exhaust and steam. Okay. Now this exhaust will produce pollution, right? 50% by volume. When you dump pollution or exhaust out into space, half by volume. So 36 from 144. It doesn't show you. I mean, burning it is the worst, probably the worst thing you can do. And that's 50% by volume, which would be 72 instead of 36. So it's already better than even burning it with a burner. Plus we get steam. I don't know the exact math on what you get if you throw it into the ocean, but it's not good either. So not enough workers. Of course, we've just massively increased what we're asking. So let's adopt more pops and let this keep going. But it'll catch up over time. So where are we going to put this incineration plant? Well, where can we use steam, right? We use a little bit in the refinery. We use a little bit to make paper. We use most of the steam on the map over here at our power plant. So what we're going to do, in the same way that we've prioritized these inputs, we're going to build an incineration plant over here. And we're going to prioritize its steam output into this system so that we're able to burn something less directly polluting than coal, right? It's a better way to use our waste. It's less pollution for processing that waste, and it's less coal consumption. All of these things are very good. Oh, and look at this. We're not even boosted over here. We're full on steel. I love that. This seems to be working, by the way. I think this works. It's kind of hard to say because we're not receiving enough ore, right, to really test it, but whatever we're getting is enough to keep up on steel demand, so I don't mind, and we don't need to be burning Unity on that necessarily either. Quick base check, just sort of pulling our heads up out of the sand. We seem to be okay most places, and in fact, I would even say we could bring that all the way back up. Everyone's doing just fine here. We are certainly cruising through research. Okay. Here's the thing. Our waste collection is over here. It's kind of far, or further than it has to be. What if we put it up over here? It costs us 25 construction parts 1. And in fact, since we'll just delete this one, it only costs us 20% of 25 construction parts 1. Because we get 80% back. So for 5 construction parts 1, we can shorten this truck trip. The other thing we could do, if we were so inclined, do we have this tech yet? I kind of forget. So you'll see, in either of these cases, it just takes trash, and the same everything else comes out, but you can compress it basically first. In the opposite of a shredder, a compactor. This post-processing basically just reduces the size of the loads that need transported. We're not making trash in such high volume that we have to do that. This is not so far, this is not so much. But if we ever decide, and that's actually why I left this here with a little bit of space in the corner, if we ever decide we want to compact it first before shipping it out, we can save ourselves 2/3 of the truck trips at the cost of running a compactor. It's something. All right, incineration plant about to kick in. Where should we place it? Can't click directly there, that's too bad. I generally like how easy it is to sort of right click and go to the recipes on icons in this game. I think they do a really good job with that. But I guess that is not something that I'll get there. Okay. So let's talk about the parts, right? So we'll need waste. We can grab a loose storage for that. Though I suppose we could just feed this directly in the machine. We don't exactly want it piling up, but just to be safe, the best practice there is to bring that in its own storage. We will also need, rotate this just to orient ourselves. Wow, I just learned. I thought you had to pick this up and move it around to rotate it. If you just hover over this, I'm not clicking it, I haven't selected it. I'm pressing R now. You can rotate. You learn something new every day. That's super cool. I like that. Great quality of life. We're also going to want fuel gas. This is the only place we're really going to consume it for now in our base. But this will come over, and this is why we did this in this order. This will come over out of the anaerobic digester that we have over here. And then we'll need some water. Okay. And of course, our steam will come out of this. And in fact, suppose we'll arrange it like this. We'll have a little bit of exhaust to deal with as well. Keep that exhaust piece in mind because that's where we're beelining next. We are cruising through the tech tree today. I love it. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and connect these up. I don't think it's gonna take long enough to really merit a time lapse, so maybe I'll just riff. How's life treating everyone? So 72, I think we will bring it over here. Again, this is kind of just for now, you'll see. And then we're also gonna need to connect in here the steam. I have made this too thick to see properly. There we are. It's here. Let's think about the order that we want to burn our products in. I mean, we want to get rid of trash, first and foremost. Biomass we can find other uses for if this fills up. Nice to burn, don't need to burn. Oil byproducts we don't have a better use for right now. Coal is our last resort. So I think the way we want to do this is I'm actually going to create a new balancer right here. And we're going to go back to our sequential balancing trick, which you will probably recall from a number of earlier builds, now that I think about it. So we're going to say trash over oil, but trash or oil over coal, right? Now within coal, it'll be biomass first. But as you can see, right, like we're burning enough combination coal and biomass that it's pretty hard to keep this, you know, we're seeing the grate at the bottom pretty commonly. So I think that's okay. I will quickly Unity build that so that the oil part still runs. The other piece that we need to do here is supply some water. Take this out of our prioritizer. We don't care about priority for out, but we just want to make sure that the recycled water that's coming from down here comes in first. So I would even say we could probably pull off this line. This is never going to need to be more than a Mark 1. So I'll even get real cute and go with the latest possible moment here. Oh, that's even better, huh? And we'll go there. Okay, so that's water. And exhaust, finally. Right now we have a Mark II pipe here collecting the exhaust. Both of these coming in here. I think we just join up with that, right? 72 also unfortunately does mean that we need a whole Mark II pipe. Is this going to overlap? They won't be firing simultaneously by definition, right? If one's going, we've prioritized it so the other won't. I think it's okay if we just join up here. But if this gives us trouble, that's probably the first place to look. Okay. Pause all that. Let that go. Check back here in this build. Oh, no parts 2, huh? Do we still have? Yeah, we do. We have ourselves, yep, prioritizing to parts 3, which I think we're actually okay on. So, oh, that's power. It's very mad at us now, right? It did say build this. Oh, I can't because I don't have parts to. Time for the world's tiniest loan. Let that go. Oh, power problems. Sorry, it'll come right back. I think. And desperately hope. But it seems like it. So that's good. Man, we are real short on workers. Can we adopt anyone? 5. Oh, great. So this is working still. You know what? I actually think we should reclaim. We're here next. I would love to build up. We're not that far from the next level of housing, technology-wise. We could prioritize it if we wanted to. But it's pretty expensive per unit. There's a world where we decide to go out another row first. So just because, and because these things take time, we'll prioritize there. We do want to flatten all of this eventually. So I actually don't need this alert. I don't care if this is empty. What I care about actually now that I think about it is if it's full, but it should be okay otherwise. All right. Did I, of course, need to redraw. Okay. We don't care and we super understand that respectively. All right, good. So that's trash. Might actually quickly upgrade that. The other thing we should do is say, you may not dump waste anymore. Nowhere. No one is allowed to dump waste. We only put it in the incinerator. Not that any of these have dumping areas, but might as well. Okay. So, wastewater treatment. Well, if we had workers, this is about to be a feed forward problem, isn't it? No, it's not backing up quite yet. Oh, because we're just doing this. Right. I think we have to do this until we have the workers. 5 months. Anywhere we can claw back? Because it's really not that important that we keep doing this. Or actually, we just don't need these right now. It's fine to keep this working. Like, we actually don't need this. What I want, yeah, exactly, is the upgrading. Okay, great. But we have the parts here stored up, right? So, at least for a little while, we're okay. This should now be operating. And in fact, it is, or will be, once we prioritize all of our sludge to go over there. Start stirring. Oh yeah, look at all that sludge. Fantastic. Oh, it must have been operating because we have some fuel gas in here. It must have gone off at least once, right? I guess I was getting some amount when it split out here. But great. This now means we can clear this line out. Reclaim a little bit of space, but really just visual organization will be nice. I think actually, oh, and look at that. Now we can drive back here. Probably won't come up, but I suppose that's good. All right. The other thing I'm going to do now is at least pause these and see if this set of desalinators can carry the day. I think they can. That'll get us a couple workers back as well. And refugees also helps. Good, okay. Is our incineration going up here? It is not. Why not? Because we serious? Is this facing the wrong way? Is this drawn on a flat? Oh my god. Well, that's just ridiculous. Obviously. In fact, I think we actually, again, would love to just upgrade in place, but I think we need that to be a 2. At least to burn this down real quick. There we go. Tried to connect a U shape to a flat. And again, what? Very silly. We're probably going to be limited on our fuel gas here at first, but that should catch up. We're going to be generating, if we're generating 8, is that going to keep up? We need 6. It's going to be close, to be honest with you. It is going to be close, but it should even out, hopefully, over time. We'll find out. Okay. We will also end up generating fuel gas another way in relatively short order, too. So we'll be all right. Pipes 3 just dropped. Beautiful. This is like 400 now, I think. 450, even. Love that. More maintenance. So you can see, right? Pipes have 0.4, 0.8, 1.4 maintenance. So we'll use these sparingly. They just add up per 100 tiles, right? But I think that's okay. Oh geez, look at this. Our oil is looking rough. All right, it's officially time to get all the way back up. There. Ooh, we don't have storage here either. Okay, we might have flown too close to the sun there. We're gonna find out. Can you go now? It's pretty close. It'll be even closer by the time you get there. Yikes. Hope that's okay. We're going to improve the efficiency of our refinery here as part of this blitz in a moment. But the next thing we're going to unlock is exhaust filtration. So, exhaust filtration. Let's look at it down here. Happens in an exhaust scrubber. You pipe in high volumes of exhaust. You add a little bit of water. If you have it, some limestone, and you'll get out sulfur. Hey, that's nice, right? Just like we scrub it out of the sour water, we'll get some sulfur. You get some CO2. It's about half, less than half of CO2 by volume compared to exhaust. And remember that from a pollution perspective, CO2 is volumes equal half what exhaust is. So this is like, you know, it reduces the pollution to what, probably like 20, 25%. It's pretty great. It's not 100%, but it's pretty great. And it gives you back this steam low, as well as some slag. Where have we seen this steam low before? Well, the thing about steam low is it's what we put into our low pressure turbines last time. So you can do two things with steam low, each of which is productive. What we used to do before we unlocked this was you put it into a cooling tower and you get 50% by volume water back. The other thing you can do is get more power from it and then get the exact same amount of water by running that through the cooling tower. That's what we do over here. The other thing you can do with it, and I previewed this, is there's another recipe in here. It's slightly less efficient, as you can see, right? I mean, there's less power in this steam, so it turns less of this over. But it's actually more efficient from a volume perspective here, right? Because you're getting back the steam low water volume, I suppose. 72 seawater gives you 72 water out versus 108 seawater in, 78 out, and less brine. But point being, we have some flexibility, depending on where we're placing these scrubbers, to use that steam in one way or another. Now here's a question. How much exhaust are we producing across the base? Just ballpark. It's in a lot of different spots. But if we look at our production, depending on how things are going, It's in the roughly 500-ish direction. So if we got, let's just say, 2 of these exhaust scrubbers in our base, we could handle everything comfortably. Where would we put those? Well, there's kind of 2 big spots where we produce exhaust. The first is this general area. That covers a lot of factories. I'll totally acknowledge that. Our big, beautiful steel factory is a huge driver of that, right? But there's little exhaust smokestacks here, even in our cute little, starting to look pretty outdated cement factory. One over here for glass. Oh, glass is finally not catching up. Been like waiting for this to happen for a couple episodes now. That's good news, really, that we're finally consuming glass. It means everything else is actually working at the right speed. Did I get your coal setup connected? I actually thought, yeah. Knew I was missing something there. Okay. And then, of course, we have also here the copper factory, some exhaust, but everything down here, this is all manufactured goods. There's a tiny bit of exhaust here when our paper, wood chip fired paper boiler goes off, like once a century. Not that high priority. A lot of it's over here. And oh, by the way, a ton of it is here, right? Where we're generating power. So my thought is 1 exhaust scrubber somewhere in this area. Makes sense. Another probably over here by the refinery. This is our big exhaust generator here, right? It's really just these 2 boilers, although they have separate pipes. I guess we built this one rather unnecessarily, but that's what that was for. The refinery generates some exhaust, but the other amount of it really comes from this boiler. Okay. Maybe 1 here, maybe 1 here. How would we process them differently? There, let's pause and talk about that. Now, we're basically always going to have access to limestone because we're going to choose to prioritize that. But we'll have the other just in case. So what does this look like? We're going to need water in, we're going to need limestone in. If we did this by the power plant, we have water already. Limestone's not far. We'd have to pipe all the exhaust over. That's not so hard. We'd have to vent off the carbon dioxide for now. We could also, for what it's worth, we're not going to do this, but you can mix CO2 at not that high of volume, frankly, along with some seawater and a gas injection pump. This thing, as you can see from the tooltip, says there's no deposit of limestone. It has to be placed on top of a 6 thick limestone deposit. And you can see that we don't have that. And that if we try to build in the hills, it's not flat enough. We could, and I've seen people do this, and it's kind of cool, it's very creative. We could dig a hole in the ground, 6 tiles deep, then dump limestone into it, and then place a bunch of those over that deposit. It's neat. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for something that is actually not our long-term solution for carbon dioxide processing, because the other thing you can do eventually is, among other things, turn it into graphite. And by the way, what a volume reduction that is. What's graphite for? Advanced manufacturing processes, further upgrades to our smelting situation, and a whole bunch of other things. So for now, again, keeping in mind that this is like a 75 to 80% reduction in pollution already, we're just gonna vent this. So that's okay. But we are gonna have to output this steam low. What if we grabbed a balancer and said, prioritize our exhaust scrubbing steam low? What would the implications of that be? Well, this might back up, potentially, right? What happens if this backs up? Well, our high pressure turbines don't fire as much, as often, but these are still going. So as long as we aren't at basically max power, it should have really zero impact. I've never done this before, but I think this might work okay. What we really need, basically, is a backup system that vents leftover steam low, which is the other thing we could just do here. But I kind of just want to see if this works well. And if it doesn't, no problem. We can just grab 2 more of these, right? And then recycle the water right back into this system. This is the only way I feel comfortable using this for power, though, because it's going to be too intermittent. Like, we aren't going to be continuously producing and consuming 480 exhaust. So this might look very stupid as early as the end of this episode, but I just kind of want to see if this works. So we're going to make one over here. We're going to make one roughly over here. I'm going to go to a time lapse. Probably do the same thing as I did last time. These aren't super complicated. I will sketch it all out, connect it, and then walk you through it. So I'll see you shortly on the other side. All right, folks, welcome back. This is just the power plant one, but I think we're ready to not just unpause, but probably have to Unity build a lot of stuff here, right? So this is the scrubber. We have exhaust coming from a lot of different spots. It comes in here. It mixes with water. It mixes with limestone. Out comes sulfur, slag, CO2, which goes into here. Steam low, which I'm putting into this balancer here. We will have this back up just to get things up off the ground, although I'd love to avoid using it rather. And this should do it. So I think it's time to turn this all on. I'm realizing now that I would like to also connect this exhaust. But because it runs everything, let's let that happen last, right? So first things first, I think we have to straight up Unity build this in its entirety, because exhaust has to go somewhere or our entire set of industrial processes is going to shut down. The input also is going to need, and this is going to be, I think, a pretty important one. The input has to happen. The rest of these are outputs that'll at least take a moment to build up. But because all of these pipes are now essentially the only storage we have for output, I think we're gonna run all this across here. Hey, by the way, we hadn't used these yet, but these little ramps as a nice little alternative to running a ton of pipes all the way up top, which I don't mind in a railroad area, but eventually we're gonna have very, very large vehicles that can't run underneath that. So I thought, why not get out ahead of that early? Show off these ramps. I'm thinking in the longer run too, for what it's worth, about running like a large unified water main in this area because of all the industrial water use too. So figured might have a pipe crossing. We're also going to need to build and deliver these, since I flipped the direction that these are delivered. And then all these pipes here as well. I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I'm something like 75% sure that the pipe throughput works for all these. I am quite sure that there will be some troubleshooting, period. So I figure, whatever, we'll figure it out. We have Mark III pipes. Probably gonna have to upgrade in a place or three, but why not wait and see which ones those places actually are, rather than get too sweaty about the math. Okay, last one over here as well. This isn't firing right now, so now that I think about it, this is fine to just build normal because we have a nice little stockpile, right, of cement, so we get to that one when we get to it, which is true of all of the rest of this as well. So this is now unpaused rather than Unity built. Whew. And let's see. Go, go, go. This also allows us to reclaim some materials from some smokestacks that we no longer have use for. How quickly is this filling up? Water's here, exhaust is not. Limestone, oh, look at that. 4 trucks, 5 trucks. Limestone for days. Good, good, good. Of course, none of it means anything until it can go in. And there we go. It should fire. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So much less pollution. CO2 coming through. All right. So then, and this needs to be a quick surgery as well. But I'd like to get this out and get, interesting. Why does this not connect? There we go. this over into one of these as well. Sure, why not? That'll work. Will also mean that we need this to upgrade instantly. Okay. Go, go, go. Now our outputs are full. What are we missing here? Anything? No? It's good. Okay, look at this. It's working. Who's backed up and mad over here? Anyone? This should only be firing nitrogen now, basically. We do keep this, right? Because we have to vent the nitrogen, but there isn't even a connection anymore, right? Is your exhaust draining properly? Seems to be. For the most part. Get out of here. Probably not strictly necessary, but we have the parts. So that's going. This seems fine. You're mad. Yes, your exhaust is not. Yep, there it is. You knew there was going to be something, right? But all things considered, that is not the end of the world. This all seems terrible. Never mind. What's going on here? Of course, I missed a single segment somewhere, didn't I? Would you look at that? Free space on the bingo card at this point, but that should get all of this running. All right. That is so much exhaust that we just nuked the consumption on. And this is running at actually pretty close to capacity, honestly. So this will be something to keep an eye on from now on. We didn't build a backup system with venting anywhere along the way here. That would be technically correct, but realistically very difficult. And I think we're just going to keep a very sharp eye here. And if we need to unity boost anything along the way or build a second one right next door, you know, we should be able to do that just fine. I bet this is firing off steam low, right? Think? I mean, with this on auto balance, really, if these are all doing enough, so to speak, maybe we'll be okay. Like, these should choose not to fire because there's already enough spinning, you know what I mean? So it shouldn't actually back up too bad. It is getting and venting exhaust from somewhere, though. This is just CO2. Where else are you even connected? Oh, that's such a huge bummer. It's directly connected to the coal output. Okay, that's all right. We will simply rebuild this. I mean, of course we're going to rebuild this, right? Like, I'm not going this close to it, not finishing it off. So then we will connect this, say, here, I guess. Is there a less ugly way to do that? Maybe it's that. Sure. Insta-build, and then we do need to make sure then, easy though it will be, that we have the right adjustments here as well. Gets a little spaghetti in there. Probably did that in the wrong order. I'm kind of over it. Gonna let that run. Okay. Whew. So hopefully you're not getting exhaust. Is that going to push this over? Nope. This is good. Okay. Wonderful. How's the old incineration plant going? Yeah, we're caught up on trash. Love to see that. This is wonderful. I mean, we are right, like this is reducing a lot of coal consumption, by the way. We'll take a look at that once it's had a chance to kind of level out. But we're very happy about that. And the production of fuel gas seems to be keeping up with the consumption of it over here. Not by a ton, but by enough. So that's good. All right, we are officially out of housing. It's time to pause the beacon because we have a good amount of workers. Oh, by the way, did we accidentally an oil crisis? Or no, we're back here. So that's good. And this is already basically ready to go again. Okay. Good. Wow. Feels nice. We even have enough to maybe get the crew going again. Do we even have anything left to explore? Don't think that we do. Nothing we can reach at any rate. Good news. Guess what else we upgraded, or we unlocked, is a whole series of ship upgrades. Not happening this episode, obviously, but we will be able to push out a little bit further as a result. Whew. All right, what else did I want to do here? You have an output. This shouldn't change. Is the water backing up? If these all four go at once, I mean, it shouldn't be an issue, right? Seems fine. Maybe that was just a momentary blip in the system. Look at how much sulfur we're making, by the way. Like, this might legitimately end up being a problem. We have to find something to do with this sulfur next episode. But we probably do need to find something to do with all that sulfur. All right. Let's sprint to settlement recycling while we build a second exhaust scrubber over here. The good news is this one's much simpler. This is our only source of exhaust here, and this is our source of exhaust here. So I think we can, do we even, so here's a thought. We have limestone over here. We have sulfur over here. We already run water over. But I do want to run the steam back over here. So I think the answer is still, actually, to place this... roughly here. We might just wait on this one. It's not nearly as urgent. A vast majority of our emissions come from our industrial sector. Like I said, we're kind of going to be making too much sulfur there at the moment. So maybe we keep this as a work in progress. We did manage to get a lot of other things sorted here. I think we can unload this crew, get these going again, which should allow us to get back to upgrading here. Okay, we are going to skip ahead real quick until we unlock the last thing that I wanted to do, which is settlement recycling. and we'll save the refinery stuff for next time. But I am, very pleased at how far we've gotten. So I will see you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's me again. As you can see, we're not skipping anything after all. We're back in a time lapse. I was going to just wait for the research to complete, but as you can also see, I got bored almost immediately. I started by just doing some little maintenance stuff around the base, adding new trees for our harvester and so on, but then I started tinkering with the second exhaust scrubber after all. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, it was up and running. Whoops. I initially thought I'd still cut this part out and just show you the outcome at the end, and you'll hear me act like that's still the plan when the recording kicks back in. But we got a comment recently from someone who mentioned, I think in the context of whether I should let the base run in between episodes to rebuild stockpiles and keep the pace still moving quickly, that they'd actually rather see longer videos that leave everything in because it helps them play along at home. And I hadn't considered that angle before, but I thought it was pretty cool to imagine someone might be recreating this base themselves. So with that in mind, I'm keeping this part in after all. And for what it's worth, if you're playing along and it would be helpful to have the actual save file as a reference from time to time, or any of our factory builds saved as blueprints, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to share. And either way, happy building. But back to the music for now, and the recording will come back in just another minute or two. Cheers. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry, I lied to you. I said I was going to hold off on building the refinery exhaust scrubber, but I was sitting here waiting for the technology to advance, and I got bored. And I started by just clearing out some of the old distillery, desalination, equipment over here, and then I realized that I had the room to build the second half of thermal stuff, and then I just started sketching everything out. It's here. In my defense, you just saw us build one. It's the exact same thing over here. This episode was getting long anyway, so here it is. It's the exact same setup, but all of the exhaust comes from this boiler back up to the refinery and running the entire desalination setup. And the other exhaust line comes from over here, this primary boiler for running the refinery. It spits out the same waste resources, and we use far less coal over here because that's what the old desalination equipment was using. Okay, anyway, the timing is perfect because here we are, and settlement recycling. Okay, great. Now, we have recyclables. Where are we going to put this? Well, it's the same thing. Feeds in over here. Oh my gosh, that is backing up. We might have to think about a second recycling setup. But let's further overclog it. What we'll do is, so this isn't, oh, it's backed up on glass. Oh, so sad. Well, this is entirely avoidable. We'd rather be running the glass over here anyway. So hopefully that takes care of itself. I just didn't actually allow it to export. Let's unpause. Let that go for a bit. That's a minor waste, but it's not the end of the world. So trucks still drive through here. So I think we'll probably want to elevate this. I am genuinely curious how much this is going to pile up. I don't know how much it's going to generate per 60 seconds. Could just do it like this too. I'd rather not. We should just send it over. We'll U-shape lift right away. 1, 2, 3, 4 for good measure. That's the right height, or a sufficient height. And then U-shape lift. Let's keep it a separate line. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll run intentionally a Mark II belt. Let's say to here, leaving room for the recycling output on these. And then connect up there. That should work. Oh, not that. And there we go. Fortunately, the glass immediately clears out. Wow. Well, I guess we're running through a backup here, so. That said, we have the tech, we have the resources. I would love to be prioritizing recyclables anyway. So hopefully this all goes just fine. So a Mark I belt should be fine here. We just have a lot of backup. But our recycling plant can go through 144. This is 48. This is 36. Whatever this is hopefully less than, I don't know, 50 to 60, and we should still be fine on one plant. But if we need to, we can probably fit a second one back here if we were so inclined. At a certain point, we'll probably expand out and do a larger setup. Why does this look like it's not continuous anymore? Glass. Well, good news, we just sent a whole bunch of recycled glass over here. Have that catch up. Okay, but there we go. That is settlement recycling. Settlement biomass is here, which means that we are probably full up over here. Might as well do that. We probably haven't burned coal here in a second, huh? That's great news. So, I mean, I think that's it. I think we saved the planet today, which is fantastic. At the beginning of this episode, we haven't even really let this run, right? To fully let the impact be felt. But at the beginning of this episode, we had between 0 and 1 health. We now have 20. We were looking at minus 28, minus 27, minus 28 pollution. And we have annihilated that number down to 7. Isn't that wonderful? As a result, this was what, I think 0.12, 0.2, something like that. This is larger. This isn't the primary reason we did it, but it's something. And as a result, we actually get a little bit of population growth. We're going to have to think about what we're going to do for the next level of settlement housing, but that is a great problem to have. Planet saved. We are, and the last thing we might do is look at exhaust production. See if we can't watch it. Well, I guess it's still being produced, right? We've just removed it. I wonder, is there a way to see pollution? I'm sure there's a graph around here somewhere. Maybe if I find it. Here we go. Look at that. There it is. Those are good numbers. Air pollution just absolutely nosedives. Vehicles, you know, we're still using vehicles. It is what it is. Same thing with ships, same thing with trains. But our water pollution, look at that. That is the effect of our wastewater treatment. Nice. That is the effect of our incineration plant. And this is all of the exhaust scrubbers. What did we say? It was going to be a 75 to 80% reduction? That seems right. We're still getting some out because CO2, and we'll get that the rest of the way down when we get that tech. But man, what an improvement. And our citizens are very happy with us as a result. Next time, we'll probably do a little bit of refinery work. So be sure to stop by. As always, hope you enjoyed yourself. Thank you for spending time here. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.